It was a typical August night in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the kind of night where the heat lingers even after the sun sets and the humidity clings to the skin like a second layer. Officer Matthew Hendricks was in the middle of his night shift, patrolling the residential neighborhoods on the west side of town. With 12 years of experience in the department, Hendricks had seen practically everything, or at least that's what he thought. Around 11:15 p.m., while driving down Wilson Avenue, his trained eyes caught something that instantly triggered his police instincts. A dark blue Ford Escape had a broken taillight, and the vehicle appeared to be speeding slightly above the speed limit in that residential area. Nothing serious, just a routine stop. The kind of thing Hendricks did dozens of times a week. He activated the emergency lights and followed the vehicle. The driver reacted quickly, using her turn signal and stopping properly beside the curb in front of a row of modest houses. With well-kept lawns, Hendricks picked up his radio and reported the stop to headquarters, providing the vehicle's license plate as protocol. Then, he adjusted his body camera, which had been recording since the moment he activated the lights, and got out of the patrol car. The camera recorded everything: his steps toward the vehicle, the flashlight swaying slightly in his left hand, the distant sound of crickets and cicadas filling the silence of the suburban night. Hendricks approached from the driver's side, maintaining his professional yet casual demeanor. This was familiar territory: routine stop, broken light, maybe a minor fine, maybe just a warning. But when he reached the driver's side window and pointed his flashlight inside the vehicle, something changed. The expression on Hendricks's face, clearly visible in the body camera footage, shifted from professional and neutral to something completely different. His eyes widened, his mouth opened slightly, and for a moment, that seemed to last an eternity on the recording, he simply stood there, frozen, the flashlight trembling almost imperceptibly in his hand. The woman behind the wheel was young, probably in her early 20s. She had shoulder-length brown hair, wore thin-rimmed glasses and a simple grey t-shirt. There was nothing extraordinary about her appearance. She seemed perfectly normal, perfectly alive, perfectly present. And yet, something about that scene had frozen Officer Hendricks in place. In the recording, you can hear him begin to speak, his voice slightly trembling in a way that didn't match a 12-year veteran. "Good evening, ma'am. I stopped you because I noticed your taillight was broken, and you were slightly over the speed limit. May I see your driver's license and vehicle documents, please?" The woman reacted calmly, without the nervousness that many people show during traffic stops. She took her purse from the passenger seat and began searching for her documents. "Of course. Officer, sorry about the broken light. I didn't know it was broken. I'll fix it tomorrow." Her voice was normal, ordinary. There was a slight weariness in it, like someone who had worked a long day and just wanted to get home. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing suspicious. And yet, when she held her driver's license out the window, Hendricks's hand visibly hesitated before taking it. He took the flashlight to the document and examined it. And that's when everything fell apart. In the body camera footage, Hendricks can be seen reading the name on the wallet. His lips move silently, as if he were repeating the name to himself, trying to process what he was seeing. Then he looks at the woman, then at the wallet again, then at the woman. His eyes blink rapidly several times. He takes a step back. "Ma'am," he begins, his voice now carrying a strange quality, a mixture of confusion and something close to fear. "This is really your driver's license?" The woman seems slightly confused by the question. "Yes, official, it's mine. Why? Is there a problem?" Hendricks doesn't respond immediately. The body camera captures the moment he slightly turns his head, as if considering calling for backup or unsure of exactly how to proceed. Finally, he speaks again, his words slowly, carefully chosen. "What is your full name?" The woman now looks genuinely confused, perhaps even a little worried. "Emily Rose Patterson. And your date of birth?" "March 23rd, 1991. "Officer, what's going on? Did I do something wrong?" Hendricks doesn't respond. Instead, he turns his back to the vehicle and walks a few steps toward his patrol car, flashlight still in one hand, driver's license in the other. The body camera captures the moment he picks up his radio and speaks softly to headquarters, requesting an urgent check on a name: Emily Rose Patterson. Date of birth, March 23rd, 1991. There's a pause. A long pause, where the only thing you hear on the recording is the ambient sound of the night and Hendricks' slightly accelerated breathing. Then the voice from headquarters comes back on the radio. "Officer Hendricks, you are requesting verification on Emily Rose Patterson." "Yes." Another pause. Then the voice from the control center returns, now with a different tone. A tone that suggests confusion. "Officer, we're looking at a record here, but there's a marking. This individual is listed as deceased. Date of death recorded as June 15th, 2013. Hendricks' body camera shakes. Not much, but enough to be noticeable in the recording. He doesn't respond to the radio immediately. Instead, he slowly turns and looks back at the Ford Escape. The woman is still sitting there, waiting patiently, oblivious to what's happening. Hendricks walks back to the vehicle, each step seeming heavier than the last. When he reaches the window again, his expression is indescribable. "Repeat that, ma'am. What is your full name and date of birth?" The woman is now visibly worried. "Emily Rose Patterson. March 23rd, 1991. Officer, please tell me what's going on. I'm in some kind of trouble." Hendricks swallows hard. The camera captures the movement of his Adam's apple. "Can you tell me where you were in June 2013? The question clearly catches the woman off guard. June of 2013, that was 10 years ago. I think I was in college. Why are you asking me this? Where exactly were you? I was studying at the University of Iowa, Iowa City. Why does this matter?" Hendricks doesn't answer. Instead, he picks up his radio again. "Central, I need more information about the record, cause and location of death." There is another tense pause. Then the voice from the control center returns. "Officer, the record indicates that Emily Rose Patterson, date of birth 23rd March 91, passed away on 15th June 2013 in Iowa City, Iowa. Cause listed as accidental drowning." Hendricks' body camera is now shaking more noticeably. He looks at the woman in the car and she looks back at him, and there's something in her eyes now. Not exactly fear, not exactly confusion, but something deeper. Something that suggests she's beginning to understand that something is terribly, inexplicably wrong. "Officer," she says, her voice now tinged with panic. "What did you just say? What did you say about me?" Hendricks opens his mouth to speak, but no sound comes out. The recording captures this moment of absolute silence, broken only by the distant sound of a dog barking somewhere in the neighborhood. Then finally, he finds his voice. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to turn off the car and get out of the vehicle." "Why? What did I do?" "I just need you to cooperate with me, please." The woman turns off the engine with slightly trembling hands and opens the door. As she exits the vehicle, Hendricks' body camera captures her in detail. She's about 5 feet 5 inches tall, slender. Her glasses reflect the light from her flashlight. She seems completely, unquestionably real. Completely, unquestionably alive. Hendricks gently guides her away from the vehicle and asks her to remain there while he performs a few more checks. He returns to his patrol car and spends the next few minutes on the phone with dispatch and then with his supervisor. The body camera recording captures fragments of the conversation. "She's right here in front of me. No, I'm serious. Yes, she's clearly alive. I don't know how to explain this. I need a supervisor here now." Meanwhile, the woman remains standing beside the car, hugging herself despite the night's heat. She's crying now, silently, and occasionally wipes her eyes behind her glasses. The camera captures the moment she pulls out her own cell phone and begins to type something, probably trying to call someone. When the shift supervisor, Sergeant Michael Brennan, arrives on the scene about 15 minutes later, the situation doesn't become any clearer. It becomes stranger. Brennan, a 23-year veteran, approaches the situation with professional skepticism. He speaks briefly with Hendricks, then approaches the woman and begins his own questioning. Hendricks' body camera continues recording while Brennan questions the woman. Emily Rose Patterson insists that, yes, she is Emily Rose Patterson. She was born on March 23, 1991, and she definitely did not die in 2013. She was studying at the University of Iowa that year, but she did not drown. She graduated in 2015 and has worked as a lab technician ever since. Brennan asks for additional documents. The woman provides credit cards, a work ID badge, even recent receipts from her wallet. Everything confirms her identity as Emily Rose Patterson. Brennan uses his own device to check the records again, and the same information appears. According to Iowa state records, Emily Rose Patterson died 10 years ago. The situation culminates when Brennan decides to take the woman to the police station for further investigation. Not as an arrest, he clarifies, but so they can resolve this discrepancy without her being left on the street in the middle of the night. The woman agrees, still visibly shaken, and is transported in a second patrol car that arrived as backup. In the following hours, at the Cedar Rapids police station, the story becomes even more bizarre. Investigators begin digging deeper into the records. They discover that there was indeed an Emily Rose Patterson who died in Iowa City on June 15, 2013. She was a student at the University of Iowa. She died in a drowning accident in the Coralville Reservoir during an outing with friends. Her body was recovered. There was a funeral. There is an official death certificate, but the woman sitting in the police station insists that she is Emily Rose Patterson and that she did not die. She was in Iowa City in 2013, but she was not at the reservoir that day. She was at her student residence, studying for final exams. She did not know anyone who was at the reservoir accident. Investigators begin to suspect identity theft or some kind of elaborate fraud. But the more they investigate, the less sense it makes. The woman's fingerprints match the records of Emily Rose Patterson. Her birth certificate checks, her educational history checks. She can provide details about her childhood, her parents, her family, all of which verify against public records. Then someone has the idea to check the death certificate. They pull the official document from the Johnson County Coroner's Office, and there it is in black and white. Emily Rose Patterson, date of birth March 23, 1991, died June 15, 2013. Cause of death, accidental drowning. Body identified by family members. The investigators then decide to contact the family listed on the death certificate. The phone number for Emily Rose Patterson's parents is on record. It's almost 3 in the morning when they make the connection, but the situation is extraordinary enough to warrant waking someone up. A man answers the phone. William Patterson, the father listed in the records. The investigators explain the situation as delicately as possible. There is a woman at the police station claiming to be Emily Rose Patterson. They are trying to verify her identity. They understand this could be sensitive, given that there are records indicating Emily passed away in 2013. There is a long silence on the other end of the line. Then William Patterson speaks, and his voice carries the weight of 10 years of grief. Our daughter Emily died. 10 years ago, we were there when they identified the body. We were at the funeral. She is buried in Memorial Garden Cemetery. What are you telling me? The investigators explain that they understand, but need to verify if there is a possibility of error. It's possible that Emily didn't die that day, that perhaps there was some mistake in the identification. William Patterson falls silent again. Then he says something that changes everything. My wife and I identified our daughter's body, but there was something strange. The body had been in the water for several hours. Her face was damaged. We identified her by her clothes, her jewelry, her hair, but there was always a slight doubt. My wife never wanted to talk about it, but I always wondered. The body looked a little different, but at the time, I thought it was just because of the trauma of drowning. The investigators ask if he and his wife would be willing to come to the police station to see his wife in person. William Patterson agrees immediately. 2 hours later, as the sun begins to rise over Cedar Rapids, William and Margaret Patterson enter the police station. They are led to a room where the woman claiming to be Emily is waiting. When the door opens and they see her, everything stops. Margaret Patterson puts her hand to her mouth and immediately begins to cry. William Patterson stands completely still, his eyes fixed on the woman in front of him. And the woman, Emily, looks at them and suddenly stands up, confusion and recognition battling on her face. "Mom," she says. "Dad, what are you doing here? What's going on?" Margaret Patterson crosses the room and pulls the woman into a desperate embrace. She holds her, as if confirming that she is real, solid, present. William joins them, and for several minutes there are no words, only weeping. When they finally part ways, the story begins to unfold. Emily Patterson, the real woman alive and breathing, had no idea that there were records of her death. She had continued her life normally after 2013. She graduated from college, got a job, and kept in regular contact with friends, but she had become estranged from her family. She explains, crying, that after a big fight with her parents in June 2013 about her career and life choices, she decided to cut off contact. She changed her phone number. She blocked them on social media. She refused their attempts at reconciliation. It was cruel and immature, she admits now, but at the time she was angry and wanted her independence. Margaret and William explain their own version of events. After the argument, they tried incessantly to contact Emily. When she didn't answer, they became desperate. Then came the news of the drowning in the reservoir. A young university student, roughly Emily's age, with a similar description. Clothes that seemed familiar. When they went to identify the body and saw the jewelry that appeared to be Emily's, even with her face damaged by water, they assumed the worst. No one questioned it. The procedures were followed. A death certificate was issued. A funeral took place. And Emily, all this time, was alive, living her life in another city, working, building a career, with no idea that her parents thought she was dead, no idea that there was a tombstone with her name in a cemetery, no idea that legally, officially, she no longer existed. The subsequent investigation revealed a tragic error in 2013. The young woman who actually drowned in the Coralville reservoir was a friend of Emily's named Sarah Mitchell, who sometimes borrowed clothes from Emily. On the day of the accident, Sarah was wearing a necklace that belonged to Emily and had similar hair. When the Patterson family was called to identify the body, based on preliminary information that it was a college student with certain characteristics and the presence of recognizable jewelry, they assumed it was their daughter. The coroner's department, dealing with a seemingly straightforward case and with family present for identification, processed everything quickly. Sarah Mitchell's family had never been contacted because Sarah was temporarily out of contact with her own parents at the time. When they eventually discovered she was missing, they assumed she had run away or intentionally cut off contact, a pattern she had of distancing herself from her family. They never connected her disappearance with the unidentified drowning. The case raised serious questions about identification procedures and the importance of more rigorous checks, even in seemingly clear cases. It also brought to light a double tragedy. Emily Patterson, who spent 10 years living her life without knowing she was officially dead, and Sarah Mitchell, who actually died but remained unidentified, without a proper funeral, without closure for her family. In the following months, a complex legal process began to correct official records, restore Emily's legal identity, and finally properly identify Sarah Mitchell. The young woman's body in the Patterson family tomb was exhumed for DNA testing, confirming that it was not Emily, but Sarah. The Mitchell family finally had closure, although it came a decade too late. For Officer Matthew Hendricks, that routine traffic stop became the strangest case of his career. The recording from his body camera that night was preserved as part of the official case file. It shows a moment that defies easy explanation, a moment where reality bent in a way no one could have predicted. Hendricks would later describe in interviews what it was like to look at that driver's license, see the name of someone the official system said was dead, and then look up and see a living, breathing person fully present in front of him. It was like two realities were competing, he said, and for a moment, I didn't know which one was real. Emily Patterson's story became a case study in police departments and medical examiners' offices across the country about the importance of rigorous identification procedures. It also became a poignant reminder of how broken family relationships can have unexpected consequences and how assumptions, even made with the best intentions, can create false realities that persist for years. For Emily and her parents, the reconciliation was bittersweet. 10 years of life lost. 10 years of unnecessary grief on one side and alienation on the other, but also a second chance that few families receive, an opportunity to mend what was broken, to recover lost time, to transform a tragedy into a story of reunion. And somewhere in a cemetery in Iowa City, a gravestone that once had the wrong name was corrected, and Sarah Mitchell finally received the recognition she deserved. A decade after her tragic death in the Coralville Reservoir on that June day in 2013. Two young women, two lives intertwined by accident and error, their stories finally unraveled by the most bizarre traffic stop Cedar Rapids has ever seen.